The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on Tom's Radio Toronto are entirely those of the hosts, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of Tom's Radio Toronto or its staff. These broadcasts are presented and made public as entertainment and general information only, in the hope that they will be entertaining and informative to listeners. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate in any way any disease or condition, or to promote any specific lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice, nor is the information presented necessarily accurate or verifiable.
Magandang tanghali sa lahat ng ating mga kababayan anywhere in the world na naaabot po ng ating Tom's Radio Toronto. Ito po inyong kaibigan mo on the Tol. And of course, this is Balitang Bayan, Biyernes. Well, napakaganda po ng panahon natin ngayon sa very nice weather here in Toronto. At tayo po'y nagpapasalamat muli sa lahat ng ating mga frontliners, healthcare workers, PSW, doctor, nurses na patuloy pong lumalaban fighting the unseen enemy, COVID-19. And of course, tayo po, we have several news about this, the latest in the fight against COVID-19. Tayo po pala ay bumabati sa lahat ng ating mga kababayan na nagbigay po sa atin ng mga texts and messages about a colleague or a Filipino health worker who was supposed to be deported yesterday. Nang hingi po siya ng reprieve. Of course, para po mabakunahan siya sa June 11. Ito po ang balitang to. While filed by my colleague Romeo P. Marquez, the editor of the Filipino web channel, Filipino health worker gets a reprieve. Of course, Dateline Toronto, a Filipino health worker who worried about contracting COVID-19 in the Philippines got a reprieve from his deportation, his lawyer said yesterday. Carlo Escario, a hemodialysis assistant at Toronto General Hospital, since 2014 had made an appeal to postpone his scheduled removal yesterday, May 13, until he got his second Pfizer vaccine shot on June 11. Canada Border Services has agreed to grant the temporary stay until June 22, apparently upon the intervention of more than one member of the parliament. His lawyer, Natalie Dumaset, told Romeo Marquez. Of course, Natalie said Escario continues to work at Toronto General Hospital in direct contact with COVID-19 patients despite his own fears of contracting the virus. At least 3 Filipino advocacy groups have launched a petition. More than 8,000 have signed as of this writing, demanding that the government of Canada stop that deportation, where the order to deport Carlos Escario back to the Philippines is yet another example of the Canadian immigration system's unacceptable treatment of workers under the Temporary Foreign Workers Program. The Magkaisa Center, the Philippine Women's Center of Ontario, the Filipino-Canadian Youth Alliance of Ontario, and Club On said in a press statement. Well, Escario arrived in Canada in 2007 through the Live-in Caregiver program and became a permanent resident in 2010. 3 years later, authorities invalidated his status after he was found to have misrepresented himself. But because of Mr. Escario has not included his marital and family status with his now estranged wife and daughter in his permanent residency application, Magkaisa Center said Citizenship and Immigration Canada is now cruelly and unjustly criminalizing Mr. Escario of misrepresentation. A news report in the Toronto Star earlier quoted Escario saying that he was worried about getting COVID in the homeland. Well, I am unlikely to receive Pfizer vaccine to return to the Philippines because the country is primarily administering the Chinese Sinovac and Russian Sputnik vaccine, which worries me. Well, that's what Escario told the media people. Well, mga kababayan, nakita naman po ninyo kung gaano kabait din naman ang ating mga immigration officials concerning the needs nung mga taong, not only Filipinos but other nationalities as well who help Canada's health sa paglaban dito sa vaccine or rather sa COVID-19. Nagtatrabaho po tayo sa Toronto General Hospital at marami po siyang naging pasyenteng may sakit nito. Yan. Well, of course, hanggang June 22 po. Pero hindi mo na ito mapapatawad siguro as far as what he did in misrepresenting himself nung siya po ay mag-file ng kanyang PR, status, permanent residency. Sayang to sayang. He will be banned from entering Canada for so many years before possibly he could apply again for job here. Anyway po, hanggang June 22 at salamat po sa tatlong grupo na tumulong at saka yung pong kanyang abogado. Thank you very much for getting the immigration and of course yung Canada border. Ayan. Hanggang June 22 po. June 11, mababakunahan ng second dose ng Pfizer itong ating kababayang si Carlo Escario. At saka alapatang nai-injectionan sa Pilipinas ng Sputnik 5, Carlo, kadarating lang nun Sputnik 5 vaccine ng isang linggo. Of course, hindi lang naman panay Chinese ang vaccine ang nandun sa Pilipinas. AstraZeneca is there, handun din yung Pfizer. May Pfizer dun Although kahit nang sinasabi mong hindi ka ma-injectionan ng Pfizer, hindi. Posible rung kung nakikipag-coordinate ang Immigration Canada sa Philippine government, bibigyan ka rin nun. Alright, at sana po ay patuloy pong suportahan ng ating mga kababayan, ang ating mga kapwa Pilipino na nagkakaroon ng problema rito. Hindi po natin sinasabing huwag yung ituturo yung mga TNT. Hindi po. Pwede naman tayong magtulong na we could help each other here in a foreign land. Not necessarily na pag wala ka ng pera at may nabalitaan ka handyan, nakita mo, nagtatago, ituturo mo na. Hindi lahat ng bagay nakukuha sa pera-pera. Hindi po. Yung pagiging Pilipino natin, dapat nasa ugat natin lahat yan alam mo yung mga Pilipino, we love each other anywhere in the world where we see and meet. Of course, hanggang ngayon kasi nasa dugo pa yung crab mentality Ano ba yung crab mentality? Okay, paborito ng mga Pilipino yung crab Lalo yung alig kahit sabi nga, pampataas ng high blood Di ba, DJ Ricky? Pero of course, kinakalimutan mo na yun. Huwag na tayong humatak pa ng mga kababayan. Hando na sa itaas. Pipilitin mo ba ibagsak para makasama? Forget it. Hindi ba my BFF Sina Sagala is watching right now? Thank you very much for your support. Well, isa pa pong kaninang umaga lamang in-announce, wala na tayong aasahang Taste of Manila. Ngayong August, hindi na po matutuloy. Ito po ang balitang yan. All major summer events, including CNE, canceled again this year. Well, the city has confirmed that all major events in Toronto this summer, including the Caribbean Carnival and the Canadian National Exhibition, will once again be canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, of course, in March, the city canceled all events and permits through to June 30, and today announcement means events typically held in Toronto in July, August, and over the Labor Day weekend will also not proceed in person. Okay. In a statement released this morning, Mayor John Tory said he is working with the CNE to help the fair get through this difficult year and offer a bigger and better in-person event in 2022. In addition to CNE and Caribbean Carnival events impacted by the move include Taste of the Danforth, the Honda Indy, and the Beachers Jazz Festival. Also affected is the annual Filipino Street Festival called Taste of Manila, which drew not less than 300,000 people in its two-day event in its sixth staging at the Little Manila area of Butters and Wilson Avenue in North York. Pride Toronto previously confirmed that once again this year, annual festivities for the Pride Month, which runs from June 1 to June 30, will be virtual. Speaking to CP24 on Friday morning, kanina napanood ko ito Tory said the city could no longer put off making a decision for events in July and August. He said he feels confident these events will return to Toronto next year or in 2020. Naku, sayang po yung preparasyon. I received a lot of calls and text messages and emails from a friend as far as the United States and from Ottawa asking if Taste of Manila will push through or not. I told them we are waiting for the city government's decision on this. Ayan po, nag-decision na. Ang City of Toronto, cancel na po lahat. So it's all the events slated for July, August, and September are all canceled. Talaga pong maraming pinapatay na business at negosyo ito Itong COVID-19, and wala po tayong magawa. It is a pandemic, it's a virus. And of course, there are vaccines na para po mapigil to. Ang problema po hindi sapat pa yata yung mga vaccines na dumarating dito. Hindi kamukha sa Amerika. Sabi nga dun sa Amerika, their president said that before the end of May, almost 60% of the Americans could have been injected with a vaccine. But here in Canada, oh my goodness sake, we could not really get our vaccine, especially in our place in Richmond. I live in Richmond, New York region. My God, we don't have enough vaccine to cope up with I have a long queue, long lines of seniors there. I am a senior citizen and I still could not get a date, although I registered myself. There are no vaccines available now. So hintay-hintay lang. Talagang hintay-hintay lang po. Ayan na nga, natigil na nga yung Taste of Manila. Of course, Filipinos all over the places as far as New York, New Jersey, and some places like Los Angeles, California. Ang daming mga Pilipino ron. Nag-e-aeroplano po. They're coming here in Toronto. Just be part of a two-day event called Taste of Manila. Sayang. The founder and president of Taste of Manila, Rolly Mangante, nag-uusap pa lang kami kahapon. Sabi niya, Tito Mon, sabi niya, tingnan natin, baka ma-announce hindi matutuloy. Anyways, pag natapos siya, next year naman siguro, wala ng COVID. Dire-diretso na tayo dyan. Okay po. May bagyo na naman. There's a typhoon in the Philippines. 10 lugar, probinsya, nilagay na sa signal number 1, sanhi ng bagyong Krising. Dateline Manila, Philippines, May 14, formal nang tinaas ang tropical cyclone wind signals sa ilang probinsya sa Pilipinas matapos mamuo ang tropical depression Krising sa loob ng Philippine Area of Responsibility o PAR. Bandang alas 7 ng umaga nang mamataan ng pag-asa ang bagyong Krising sa lugar ng Marawi City, Lanao del Sur, ayon sa pagtataya ng mga state meteorologist. Well, lakas ng hangin is 45 km per hour, malapit sa gitna. 75 km per hour ang bugso nito. At ang pagkilos ay kanlurang hilangang kanluran sa bilis na 15 kilometers per hour. Ang posisyon po nito bukas 310 kilometers kanluran ng Dumaguete City, Negros Oriental. Dahil dyan, ibinaba ang signal number 1 sa mga sumusunod na lugar. Ayan, makakaranas po yan ng 30 to 60 kilometers per hour ng lakas ng hangin. Well, timog silangang bahagi ng Negros Oriental sa Dumaguete City, Valenzuela, Sibulan, Santa Catalina, Siaton, Sampaguita, or Sambuanguita, Sampaguita raw. Bulaklak yun na, DJ Ricky, di ba? Well, Hilagang Kanluran, bahagi ng Cotabato. Ayan, hilagang silangan ng bahagi ng Zamboanga del Sur. Wala pa namang naitatalang mga namamatay o anumang damages sa bansang, or rather sa bansang dulot ng bantang dulot ng Tropical Depression Krising sa ngayon ayon sa pinakabagong tala ng National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council ngayong umaga. Well, meron naman daw standby funds na 1.25 billion pesos ang Department of Social Welfare and Development Central Office, field offices at National Operations Center maliban sa mga stockpiles para tugunan ang panganib ng nasabing sama ng panahon. So ingat po mga kababayan natin sa dadaanan ng bagyo, particular na po dyan sa may Dumaguete. Yan, nako. Ingat-ingat lang po. Pangalawang bagyo na pong dadaan sa Pilipinas to. Alam naman po nyo sa Pilipinas, more than 23 typhoons ang tinatanggap po ng ating bansa taon-taon. Yan, pangalawa na ito. Ingat-ingat lamang po. Well, latest news on COVID-19 cases in the Philippines. Nakapagtala ang Department of Health ng 6,784 bagong infection ng coronavirus this morning, kung kaya nasa 1,131,467 na sumatotal ang nahahawahan nito sa Pilipinas. Batay sa mga bagong nakalap na datos ng Kagawaran ng Kalusugan, narito magbagong pasok na datos para sa araw ng Biyernes. Well, 1,131,467 ang kabuuang kaso. Nagpapagaling pa or 58,986 or 5.2% ng total infection. Kagagaling lang 2,972 na siyang nagakyat sa total local death toll or rather para maging 1,053,523 ang lahat ng gumagaling. Namatay po ang 137 na nagkakyat sa total local death toll sa 18,958. Ngayong araw naman, pipirmahan na ang term sheet para sa 40 milyong doses ng COVID-19 vaccine mula sa Pfizer BioNTech, bagay na kinumpirma na ni Vaccincia Carlito Galvez Jr. Inanunsyo naman ng Commission on Election na magpapatuloy ang pagpaparehistro para sa 2022 national at local election simula Lunes, 17 ng Mayo. Ngayong ilalagay na uli sa mas maluwag na General Community Quarantine ang National Capital Region Plus. Well, hindi naman pabor si Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Bergeri sa mga naunang mungkahi na magkaroon ng mga vaccine passes para magkaroon ng akses sa mga fully vaccinated citizens sa mga indoor establishments, lalo na't posible pa rin daw tamaan at makahawa ng COVID-19 ang mga nabakunahan na. Umaabot na sa halos 160.1 million ang tinatamaan ng COVID-19 sa buong daigdig ayon sa huling datos ng World Health Organization. Sa bilang na yan, namatay po ang 3.32 milyong katao. Ayan. Well, magbabalik na raw po ang National Capital Region Plus sa GCQ. Kahit na positivity rate sobra sa WHO recommendation. Well, pag-uusapan po natin yan sa pagbabalik po ng Balitang Bayan Biyernes. Break po muna tayo. Huwag kayong bibitaw.
Are you an international student who has recently graduated from a Canadian post-secondary school? If you have graduated from a designated learning institution, you could be eligible to apply for permanent residency under the new pathway set out by Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. Contact Genesis Immigration Consulting.
Are you suffering from chronic pain, joint pain, or any kind of muscle pain? And for all your physiotherapy, massage, and orthotic shoes needed, please call us at 416-633-1334. WH Physio and Rehab Clinic. You could come to their clinic at 3768 Butler Street, Unit 205, North York. The best service in town. Well, sa pagkapatuloy po ng ating balitaan, NCR Plus babalik sa GCQ. Uy! Kahit mataas-taas pa rin ang bilang ng nahahawahan ng COVID-19, desidido ang gobyerno na magluwag ng quarantine restrictions sa punong rehiyon at mga kalapit nitong probinsya simula sa Sabado. Uy, bukas! Well, kahapon ay inapurbahan na ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte ang General Community Quarantine with heightened restrictions sa Metro Manila, Rizal, Bulacan, Cavite at Laguna, bagay na tinatawag na NCR Plus Bubble. Papayagan din ng mga lugar ng GCQ with heightened restrictions ang mga sumusunod. Indoor dining services sa 20% venue or seating capacity, 50% venue or seating capacity sa outdoor o all fresco dining, 30% capacity sa outdoor tourist attraction na may mahigpit na pagsunod sa minimum public health standards, specialized markets ng Department of Tourism, 10% venue capacity sa mga religious gatherings gaya ng burol, inurement ng mga namatay na hindi dulot ng COVID-19, non-contact sports sa labas. Ano ba yung mga non-contact sports? Siyempre, bowling, hindi naman contact sports yun . Golf, tennis, ayan. Basketball, hindi pwede yun . May contact dun . Personal care services na hindi nangangailangang magtanggal ng face mask gaya ng saloon, parlor, beauty clinics at iba pa sa 30% capacity. Ayan, nako, belo, buhay na naman. At saka yung mga barberya. Usapang barbero, Tito Ed, magpagaling ka. Relax. Tita Ses, relax. Huwag magpa-stress na kung hirap kalaban yung sakit na yan. Tuloy lang din ang mga curfew sa NCR Plus kahit na tinanggal ito noong huling GCQ sa Metro Manila ayon kay Interior Secretary Eduardo Anyo kagabi. Inirerekomenda rin ng World Health Organization ang pagluluwag ng mga public health and social measures kung mas mababa ng 5% ang positivity rate o porsyento ng lahat ng COVID-19 test na positibo. So, maluwag po. Niluwag na yung matutuwa na yung mga maraming businessmen ito sa Pilipinas. Yan. Yun lang po na nakikita. Papanood po natin sa mga video dyan sa kung saan-saang apps Okay, sa Facebook marami kang makikita. May mga nagre-reklamo talagang mga manggagawa ika nga natin sa foods and services, sa mga restaurant. Ayan, bibigyan na po sila ng karapatang mag-indoor dine-in services. Pero 20% venue lang or seating capacity. Kaya yung mga maliliit pong mga restaurant na kumakasya lang ang 6, 20, nako, di dalawa lang siguro yun. Di bale, balot-balot na lang pa uwi-uwi. At least magkakabalik trabaho yung cook Yung nagluluto, magseserve niyan Yung may-ari na lang siguro Pag binayaran mo sila, yun, makikita mo, yung nagseserve na. Si Inang, balik ka, lutong bahay. Ganun po, at least kahit papano. Mabubuksan yung kwan. Lalo yung barbero at saka yung mga salon. Ayan, gupitan na ng buhok. I don't care about my long hair. There is Josie who could cut my hair. Kami ni Ricky, ginupitan na kami ni Josie. Kainan ba? Well, tungkol pa rin po sa bakuna, ayan, mas mahabang delay daw sa second dose ng vaccine. Mas ligtas. Nabasa niyo ba ito? Hindi kayo dapat mag-apura. Ika nga, mas magiging ligtas ang buhay ng mga nabakunahan may edad 65 anyos pababa ng COVID-19 vaccine kung patatagalin ang pagbibigay ng ikalawang dose nito. Ayon sa isang bagong pag-aaral ng mga dalubhasa sa Estados Unidos. Ayan, galing po sa US yan. Kumbaga sa atin, state child. Tate. Mas maraming naniniwala pag sinabing state child. Well, sa United States study na nalathala sa BMJ British Medical Journal, gumagamit ang mga mananaliksik ng simulation model at 100,000 adult samples na isinilalim sa iba't ibang senaryo kabilang ang level ng infeksyon at bisa ng bakuna at immunization rates. Makukuha mano ang resultang ito depende kung mapapatupad ang ilang kondisyon. Kabilang dito ang pagbakuna na may one-dose efficacy na 80% at pagkakaroon ng immunization rate sa pagitan ng 0.1% hanggang 0.3% ng populasyon kada araw. Kung makukuha ang kondisyong ito at mas patatagalin ang pagbibigay ng second dose ng bakuna, maiiwasan umano ang pagkakaroon ng 26 hanggang 47 na masasawi. Ang sarap kada 100 tao. Susunugan or sinusunugan ito ang desisyon ng United Kingdom na palawigin ng 12 linggo ang pagtuturok ng ikalawang dos ng bakuna mula sa unang dos. 12 linggo, 3 buwan yun. Eksakto lang yun, 3 months. Okay. Sa datos na nakuha sa England, naitala na tumaas ang proteksyon sa pagkamatay ng mga pasyente sa 80% habang bumaba rin sa 70% ang mga nai-infection. So, wag po kayong mag-apura. 3 months na paghihintay is lang po yun. Sa second dose, nabawasan naman yung ikatatakot mo sa unang dose pa lang yan, nabawasan na ng takot yan, 50% na takot na mahahawahan ka. Kung talagang mataas ang immune system mo, hindi ka naman dapat matakot At saka kung malaki paniniwala mo kay Lord Jesus Christ, ba't ka matatakot? Ang natatakot lang na mamatay, yung maraming kasalanan. yung nga maraming utang, hindi natatakot mamatay. Bakit kanyo? Di mawawalan ng utang. O, di ba? Yun ang ating sinasabi. Natatawa na naman itong si Lady Always of Canada. Well, yun na po ang ating, huwag po kayong mag-apura. Hintayin natin. 3 buwan is enough na mabigyan ka ng pangalawang injection ng vaccine. Alright? Ilang araw na po natin pinag-uusapan yung mga oversupply ng nurses sa Pilipinas. May 4,000 bumalik na displaced pala noon 3 months ago. At 3 months ago. Tapos eto po balita ngayon, yung mahigit 4,000 na displaced, babalik na sa kanilang trabaho sa abroad. Uy, kita nyo. Ito balitang yan. Higit 4,000 mga nurses ang nakatakdang lumabas ng Pilipinas para bumalik sa kanilang mga trabaho sa ibang bansa sa kabila ng matinding pangangailangan sa medical frontliners ng mga paggamutan dahil sa COVID-19. Sinabi ni DOL Secretary Silvestre Bello III na nasa 4,610 nurses ang aalis para balikan ang kanilang mga dating trabaho sa mga pinapasukong ospital sa iba't ibang bansa. Nilinaw ni Bello na ang mga nurses hindi nawala ng trabaho, ngunit mga nagtapos lamang ng mga kontrata na muling inirenew. Ayun, binanggit din ng kalihim na natanggal na ang employment cap na 5,000 para sa mga nurses sa United Kingdom dahil may oversupply umano sa Pilipinas ng mga nurses. Humihiling pa umano ang naturang bansa or ang UK na mag-hire ng nasa 2,000 hanggang 3,000 nurses buwan-buwan. Naku, kasarap na balita. Pinag-aaralan natin yan. Actually, may oversupply tayo ayon pa kay Bello. Pinag-aaralin din ngayon ng DOLE ang pagtanggal na rin sa employment cap sa Germany na nais ding mag-hire ng mga Filipino nurses. Tinitingnan naman nila ang pagbalanse sa pagkapadala ng mga manggagawa sa ibang bansa at pangangailangan ng Pilipinas. Nung araw po kasi, sa atin, sa Pilipinas, nakita nyo yung kanilang mga anak, yung mga taga-probinsya, pinag-aaral ng nursing Nursing. Yung iba nga kumadro na, pero yung kumadro na po, yung talaga mahirap na. Pero yung may kaya at kaya magpaaral sa Maynila, kahit sa mga probinsya po, may mga nursing schools Gusto nila maging nurse yung kanilang anak, pag babae. Sapagkat ang mga nurses daw sa Pilipinas, pwedeng mag-abroad. Nung araw po, kasikatan ng pagkapadala ng mga nurses sa Amerika. Buwan-buwan, 2,000 hanggang 3,000 nurses are flying to the US. Ang demand po ng mga hospital doon, grabe. Basta Filipino nurses. Nahinto lang po yan nung several years back nang lumitaw o lumusot o may nagpalabas na karamihan sa mga nursing exam nagkaroon ng leakage o nagkadayaan. Ayun, ganun na nangyari. Kaya yun, pinaimbestigahan todo na tigil ang malawakang pagkapadala at pagtanggap ng US sa kanilang nurses, sa ating mga nurses sa Pilipinas. Abay, siyempre, bakit nga naman kung talaga namang nandaya ang nurses, ba't kukunin mo sila? Baka makamatay pa yun ng pasyente Hanggang sa dumating ang pagkakataon ng karamihan sa mga nurses, ay kung na lang ang inapalan, mga PSW, Personal Services Workers yun caregiver. Ayan, yung iba nga kasambahay na lang sa Asian. Graduate ng nurse, Kasi nga hindi na kumukuha ang Amerika. Ang Canada never na kumuha ng nurses. PSW hanggang ngayon. Ngayon, naghahanap sila ng mga nurses. Daming Pilipinang caregiver na nurses. Nagbigay pa sila ngayon ng libreng pag-aaral ng mga nursing student. Magkaroon sila ng bridging courses diyan. Yung caregiver talaga, na nurse, konting kaaral lang yun eh. Nurse na yan. Di pa kunin nyo rin na exam dito. Pag di pumasa, di balik sa caregiver. Nag-apply dito ang mga Pilipino po. Napakarami, hindi lang Pilipino. Basta galing ng Asia. Caregiver, PSW, nag-aalaga ng bata, nag-aalaga ng matanda. Actually, nurses yan. Yung iba kumadrona. Ngayon, nangangailangan ng maraming nurse. Ayaw pa rin kumilos ang Ontario. Ano gagawin natin? Nagkukulang nga ng mga health workers sa mga ospital dito eh. Ang staff nila kulang na kulang. Nagre-reklamo ang ibang pasyente ng COVID-19. Kulang ng staff sa mga hospital, hindi lang dito sa Greater Toronto area, kundi pa po sa iba pa pong mga kapaligirang na syudad at probinsya. Bakit ba manghihingi si Doug Ford ng health workers, doktor, nurses, other health workers sa ibang probinsya para tulungan ng Ontario? At least, ngayon, medyo nakakaluwag-luwag na. Paano kung bumalik ulit na nangangailangan tayong sobrang kailangan ng serbisyo ng mga nurses? Ngayon palang pag-aaralin yung mga Hindi! We're calling the attention of the Premier of Ontario here, Minister ng Health dito sa Ontario. Ang dami pong mga Pilipinang caregiver who are really nurses from the Philippines. I-open nyo yan. I-open nyo sa mga caregivers na nurses. Hindi lang Pilipino. Magtalaga kayo, i-announce nyo lang sa mga dyaryo, dito sa mga radio and television, that all foreigners working in Canada as a PSW or healthcare givers who are really nurses or nursing graduate from their country of origin to sign up. Oh my goodness sake, naknan dragon, dadapugpugin kayo ng napakaraming PSW at healthcare givers na mga nurses. Yan po, that's our suggestion to our Premier Doug Ford at Minister, sino kay Minister ng kwan? Ang alam ko kasing Minister ng Provincial Education hindi pwedeng kalimutan Mr. Leche. Di ba? Pag si Mr. Leche nagplano, ang sasabihin mo, Leche plans. Di ba? Well, kita nyo, babalik sa abroad yung mahigit 4,000 nurses na binalita nating pinauwi. Yung pala, tapos na kontrata, kaya nawala ng trabaho. Kailangan sa abroad, anywhere in the world, ang mga nurses, at they want Filipino nurses. Unang-una, marunong umingles. Pangalawa, malinis sa katawan. Pangatlo, sobrang mag-alaga ang mga Filipino. Ayan, sobra sa alaga. Alright, at tayo nga po ay natutuwa, sapagkat marami tayong, I was talking to our producers and she wants to have a show that could help some, not only Filipino caregivers, but everybody, everyone from the different community, from the different ethnic community who's got a problem with their work as caregiver, as health workers, and they need the support and assistance of some organization here in securing audiences with the right authority to air their problems and get support. Of course, we started with Kalungan before in our previous station, but unluckily, it did not post through. Mahina yung isang kasamang producer dun Alang nangyari. That's why I was telling, anyways, there are a lot of shows coming up as we go along, as Tom's Radio Toronto continue its services not only to the Filipino people but to all ethnic communities here in Canada. All right. Nasaan na ba tayo ngayon? Balitang showbiz. Nako, ang showbiz na to. Umiyak ng todo itong ating kandidato sa pagka-Miss Universe. Pangalan, Miss Ravia Mateo. Humagulgul daw hindi raw nagustuhan yung kanyang pagrampa, suot-suot, yung ka-Philippine na, Pilipinyana ba yun? Well, isa munang balita rito bago ako pumunta at mag-break ulit. Ravia Mateo, todo hugulgol na dismaya sa kinalabasan ng costume competition at humingi ng tawad ang pambato ng Pilipinas sa kanyang mga tagahanga habang tumatangis kasunod ng mga batikos na natanggap mula sa social media kaugnay ng ipinakita niyang performance sa katatapos lang na yugto ng patimpalak ng Miss Universe. Nabigo kasing maisuot ni Ravia ang kanyang headpiece sa National Costume Competition ng Miss Universe 2020 yesterday. Ayan, kukumplitohin sana nito ang kanyang Philippine flag-inspired attire. Napalive stream tuloy siyang matapos ng insidente para ipaliwanag ang naturang pagpalya. Sinasabing gawa pa naman ng Filipino international designer na si Rocky Cole. Ay, namatay. Magaling to. Hollywood to Rocky Cole. Namatay na to Ang galing nito. Sikat na sikat to. Sa Hollywood. Well, si Rocky Cole ang gumawa ng kanyang Filipino inspired sabi ni Ravia, kinatawa ng asul ang royalty, pula para sa lakas at katapangan, habang sinisimbolo naman daw ng dilaw ang kalayaan para piliin anuman ang nais gawin. Well, pinasalamatan din ng Tubong Iloilo ang lahat ng kanyang mga tagahanga, lalo na ramdam niyang maganda siya habang naglalakad sa entablado. Complete belief on herself. Ang ganda-ganda ko. Pwede yung ganun no? Pwede ko ba sabihin dito, DJ Ricky, ang gwapo-gwapo ni Ramon Datol. Hindi mo nakakahiya yun, yung sobrang bilib sa sarili. Anyways, talagang kanya-kanya racket yan Kanya-kanyang paraan niya para mapansin ka ng mga judges. Well, nakatakda ang coronation night ng 69th Miss Universe sa ika-16 ng Mayo. Sa linggo yan, sa coastal city ng Hollywood, sa Florida, USA. Ayan, nami-miss nyo ba si Celine Dion? Magkakaroon po siya ng napakalaking concert. Babanggitin pag-uusapan po natin yan sa pagbabalik po muli ng Balitang Bayan Biyernes. Huwag kayong bibitaw. Celine Dion to
Are you an international student who has recently graduated from a Canadian post-secondary school? If you have graduated from a designated learning institution, you could be eligible to apply for permanent residency under the new pathway set out by Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. Contact Genesis Immigration Consulting.
suffering from chronic pain, joint pain, or any kind of muscle pain, for all your physiotherapy, massage, and orthotic shoes needs, please call at 416-633-1334 WH Physio and Rehab Clinic located at 3768 Battersea Street, Unit 205, North York. The best service around. Ayan po. Well, Songbird Uncaged. Nako, pinawalan na naman to. Celine Dion is ready to be released into the wild. Wow. After spending the past year and a half cooped up in lockdown, Quebec's vocal powerhouse is vibrating with energy as she talks about her comeback from the COVID-19 pandemic with the limited engagement in Las Vegas this fall. I've been locked up, she says matter-of-factly in a media call before switching to the cadence of a town crier. I'm gonna get out of this cage, she shouts. I'm gonna be performing. You better watch out. It's a promise many of Dion's fans will certainly welcome after the singer's Courage World Tour was frozen in its tracks shortly after she crossed the 50th tour date. Her final show before the pandemic shutdown was in Newark, New Jersey on March 8, 2020. Dozens of shows were postponed as the pandemic sent ripples through the concert industry, and while 5 Canadian dates remain on the calendar for this summer, it's likely they will be pushed a second time. What more certain is that Dion sees freedom on the horizon. She booked herself a curtain call in Vegas, the city that hosted her residencies for 16 years until 2019, and where she lives with her family. Starting on November 5, Dion will play 10 dates at the new 5,000 person capacity Resorts World Las Vegas Theater, the first in a stock calendar of marquee stars that include Carrie Underwood, Katy Perry, Luke Bryan. At course, magko-concert din doon si Cecil Araneta, the new Karen Carpenter after Ranto. At saka si Lady Elvis. Lady Elvis, practice. Ipako-concert ka namin. Ano malin nyo, mapuno mo yung 5,000 person capacity Resorts World Las Vegas. Panay Pinoy ang manonood doon. Well, abangan nyo po, November, lahat ng fans sa Amerika, kahit hindi sa Amerika, na pwede pumunta sa Las Vegas, November 5 po ang start. Again, ng show ng paborito ng bayan, Celine Dion. Ayan. Gustong-gusto ko yan. Taas ng boses niya, no? Hindi ba, Ricky, naka-duet siya ni Charis? Charis Pempenko, no? Grabe. Kasi hindi pa masyadong sikat si Charis doon. Kinakilala na siya sa YouTube. Dalagan-dalaga pa si Charis noon, no? Oo, grabe. Sayang yung Charis Pempenko. Talagang ganun, nakilala niya yung kanyang sarili kung sino siya. Anyways, kahit papano, nakajuwit niya ang isa sa pinakamagaling na singer sa buong planeta, Celine Dion. Kainam. Well, sa iba pa pong mga balita, sa sports nga pala, nakalimutan ko muna yung sports. Meron kasi akong special na balita dito sa Canada. Well, ito po ang ating mga balitang sports. 350,000 signed Tokyo Games be canceled. Diyos ko, day. An online petition with more than 350,000 signatures calling for the Tokyo Games to be cancelled was submitted this morning to local organizers. the International Olympic Committee, and others. The Olympics are scheduled to open in just 10 weeks on July 23 in the midst of a pandemic, with Tokyo and other areas under a state of emergency. Cases continue to rise in Japan, where less than 2% of the population has been fully vaccinated. The petition campaign, it's called Stop Tokyo Olympics, was drafted by well-known lawyer Kenji Utsunomiya, who has also run for governor of Tokyo. He said the response was surprising but acknowledged that this was too little and probably too late. Utsunomiya said the Olympics would divert medical services from the general public, which has been a rising concern as hospitals come under strains that could get worse as the games approach. Organizers and the IOC say they will hold the games safely, isolating 15,400 Olympic and Paralympic athletes in a bubble and repeatedly testing them and the tens of thousands of others. Judges, staff, sponsors, media, and broadcasters who will enter a country that has had its borders sealed for a year. Well, Japan has attributed about 11,000 deaths to COVID-19. Good by world standard, but poor in Asia, where like Taiwan and South Korea had been more successful. There is no indication the Olympics will be canceled, with billions of dollars riding on it. Although there has been opposition from the local medical community. Last month, the British Medical Journal suggested the games be reconsidered. The IOC relies on selling broadcast rights for almost 75% of its income. 18% more is from sponsors. And Japan has officially spent $15.4 billion to organize the Olympics. A government audit, however, has suggested that the number might be twice that large. So mga $30 billion. Hindi pa natutuloy yun, ha? Expenses pa lang. Well, Saiko Hashimoto, the president of the Tokyo Organizing Committee, was pressed on Japan's stretched medical system at her weekly briefing on Friday, held separately from the petition submission. Also this morning, the Japanese government said it would issue a state of emergency for 3 more prefectures joining Tokyo, Osaka, and several others. The 3 are the northern Hokkaido Prefecture and Hiroshima and Okayama in western Japan. The restrictions last until May 31. Bars, karaoke, parlors, and most entertainment facilities are required to close. Business owners who comply will be compensated, and those who don't face fines. Natatandaan ko po noong 1994 games sa Hiroshima, Japan. Nagpunta po ako rin PRO ako ng Amateur Boxing Association. At the same time, nagsusulat po ako sa Malaya at saka sa Abante. Na-cover ko yung Asian Games Hiroshima, Japan, 1994. 21 days po kami ron. Ang ganda nung prefecture na yun ng Hiroshima. Doon po yung binaksak yung isang atomic bomb noong 1944. Pinuntahan namin yun Alam nyo ba yung binaksakan mismo, ang laki-laki ng crater na yun, hindi nila ginalaw yun Pinreserve na, tsaka lahat ng bangkatabing building nalanos po Tapos naglagay sila ng isang building doon, lahat ng mga memorabilia ng gera nakalagay doon. Ang ganda po, ang gandang mag-cover ng Asian Games, lalo na Olympics, lalo na. Kaya po tayo as a sports writer, marami na po tayong nalibot. Itong pag-cover ng Tokyo Olympics, kung hindi po nag-pandemic, mag-a-apply sana ako mag-cover As a writer and photographer, writer ng The Philippine Courier. ma-approve ako dyan dahil na ako nagko-cover niyan gusto nila may mag-cover sa Toronto. Yung ganun. Sayang. Anyways, hindi ko po alam kung ipupospone pa nila to. Sobrang gastos na Sabi nga ng Japan, posibleng 30 million US dollars ang gastusin na, hindi pa po ito. Kung matutuloy ito, sinabi naman ng organizing committee ng Tokyo, hindi sila tatanggap ng foreign na viewers. Walang mga foreigner na manonood, kundi yung lahat ng mga team lang and members ng team. Mga media, ayan. Yan lang po ang tatanggapin na makapasok sa venue. At puro Japanese citizen ang pwedeng manood ng games. Talagang ganun. Para po... Anyways, yan po ang mga huling balita at ang ating special na balita pong sinasabi ko sa inyo ay nagsara na. Nagsara na po ang operasyon ng Greyhound Canada. Ayan po, Greyhound Canada is permanently cutting all bus routes across the country, shutting down the intercity bus carrier's operation in Canada after nearly a century of service. Well, the motor coach company said its remaining routes in Ontario and Quebec will cease permanently. Kahapon na nag-start. Anyway, all Ontario, ito naman, the company said tickets for travel after yesterday will be refunded. Customers with valid travel voucher can also request a refund. All Ontario and Quebec routes that were temporarily suspended in May 20 will permanently end as of midnight kagabi. Ang mga sarado na po, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, London, Windsor, Sudbury, Ottawa, Toronto, Toronto, Kitchener, Guelph, Cambridge, Toronto, Niagara Falls. Naku, daming Pilipinong nagpupunta dyan. Toronto, Niagara, makita lang yung Niagara Falls at makapag-casino. O diba, DJ? Sarado na yan. Ottawa to Kingston. Well, yan na po ang mga nasarang route. Wala na Yung international, andun pa rin yun. Yung local, wala na rin po. Well, yan po ang kabuuan ng ating Balitang Bayan. Nagpapasalamat po tayong muli sa lahat ng sumusuporta sa Toms Radio Toronto. Thank you very much po. Napapanood nyo po kami live, www.tomsradio.com. Ayan, yan po ating website. Sa Facebook page, Toms Space Toronto. Ito po yung kaibigan mo na to hanggang mamaya pong muli sa News at 4. Kasunod ko po ang wellness. Ano ba yan? With our friend, host, Josie Isla. Magandang tanghali po sa inyong lahat. Salamat po.
Are you an international student who has recently graduated from a Canadian post-secondary school? If you have graduated from a designated learning institution, you could be eligible to apply for permanent residency under the new pathway set out by Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. Contact Genesis Immigration Consulting